Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Aliens Invaded. I, Chef Become the Strongest Human. Chapter 41. In front of the projection screen, all the students from U City focused on the performance rankings. Many people looked lonely, grabbing their hair and feeling regretful. And there are many such people in every school. Only in Yushi number 14 middle school, a large number of students felt happy in their hearts, and looked at those students with lonely expressions with fear. Of course they know why these people have such expressions. If you look carefully at the large number of 0 points in the rankings, you will know the reason. Obviously, the tasks they took were far beyond their abilities. If they didn't complete them, they would naturally get 0 points. In contrast, they changed their goals after listening to Zhang Tian's words. Although they didn't get high scores, because these 0-scored ones were at the bottom, their results improved and they jumped to the front. You must know that there are more than 20,000 students in the city's joint entrance examination this time, and only those who rank within 10,000 are eligible to receive consolation prizes. For every 1,000 people promoted, the reward will be doubled. Thanks to Zhang Tian's words of being steady and steady, all of them were ranked in the top 10,000, which was something they could not even imagine in the past. Many of them even entered the top 5,000, far exceeding their original expectations and receiving considerable rewards. Originally, they thought Zhang Tian was just lucky enough to get a good grade because of Shui Ruyan, so they felt uncomfortable and very jealous. Now, if you do well, Zhang Tian deserves to be so lucky. And some students who got 0 points in the number 14 middle school of U City also shook their heads in despair. Their awakened talents themselves were poor, they failed the task, and there was no reward to help them. Their future in the college entrance examination was worrying. Similarly, when many people look at some people, their eyes change. Among the 4 King Kongs in their school, the other 3 were ranked within the top 100 in the city. It was also at this time that they realized that these 3 of the 4 King Kongs were actually very powerful, and their real vitality values far exceeded everyone's imagination. In the past, they were actually working in secret. Especially Guo Qihong, whose real strength is that he can enter the elite class and win the top 3. Because this time the mechanism of strong matches with weak ones allowed him to take advantage of the loopholes. He was matched with teammates who were not weak even though he was strong, and achieved high scores. Not only did he enter the top 100 teams in the city, but he also achieved a good result of 36th place. He was a piece of meat in the hands of the top students from the 3 famous schools in U City. Hey, the first place has changed hands, and it is indeed Bai Zunren from number 1 middle school. Why is Bai Zunren's teammate Bai Zunli? If I remember correctly, they are 2 brothers and sisters, right? These twin brothers and sisters were famous all over the world when they were in junior high school. The younger sister is not weak, so why? I heard that since last year, the performance of the younger sister of the Bai family has plummeted, which is regrettable. Is it just for this awakening assessment? Isn't this cheating? Everyone was talking a lot, and their expressions showed dissatisfaction. Guo Qihong, who was surrounded by classmates in the number 14 middle school in U City, also crossed his arms and chuckled. I must have known the news in advance. Anyone who can do this doesn't have some wealth. Of course, this will definitely lead to defeat, and the school ranking will also take advantage. I will send more red envelopes to good students in the school group later. Guo Qihong happily arched his hands towards his classmates in a friendly manner. It was at this time that a loud noise suddenly came from not far away. Everyone looked sideways and discovered the source of the quarrel. The core is naturally the brothers and sisters of the Bai family. If you are dissatisfied with my results, why don't you just kill 3 level 1 flame birds yourself? It's a pity that a loser like you can't do it. Among them, a short-haired boy wearing a number 1 middle school uniform sneered and mocked a long-haired boy with a red face. Next to the short-haired boy, there was a girl who looked similar to him, playing with her fingers, seemingly bored. Obviously, this short-haired boy is Bai Zunren among the Bai family siblings. The students from number 14 middle school came closer to watch the excitement. After listening for a while, they understood the cause and effect. It seemed that the long-haired boy who was being ridiculed was complaining for his teammates. They are students from number 2 middle school. Although the long-haired boy is weak, his teammates are very talented. He chose high-level tasks and completed them, but because of his lack of strength, he was held back and was squeezed out of the top 10. The top 10 were all those who knew the news in advance, secretly manipulated their teammates, and made their familiar teammates deliberately have poor grades this year, and then matched up with their teammates. In this way, they are all powerful forces, and their rankings will naturally be much better. That's why the long-haired boy complained to his teammates, and the Bai brothers and sisters who came over to look at the rankings heard, so the current quarrel started. But your behavior is cheating. The long-haired boy blushed and shouted dissatisfied. Bai Zunli, who was playing with her fingers, then raised her head and looked at the long-haired boy mockingly. Cheating. My strength has indeed dropped during this period, but it only recovered after I awakened. Besides, the flamebirds we killed are real people. Is there any problem? It's just trash like you who likes to make excuses. Bai Zunren folded his arms and looked at this side playfully. What you have to learn is to accept the reality instead of complaining here. Is it true that anyone can be like you? If others are ranked higher than you, is it cheating? Strength is the last word. Who asked us to kill more aliens than you? If we are on the battlefield of aliens, they are more useful than you. Did you hear that clearly? Trash. After Bai Zunren finished speaking, many students from number 1 middle school also laughed and laughed, teasing the long-haired boy in front of them. The long-haired boy's face turned red and white, and his whole body was shaking with anger. Forget it, it doesn't matter. The long-haired boy's teammate patted his shoulder. Thank you for speaking up, but it's a pity. Speaking of this, he shook his head helplessly. This is the reality. The long-haired boy was still unwilling. He knew that his teammate was very capable. If you are like these people, you can know the news in advance and find someone with similar strength to form a team, and you can easily enter the top 10. You know, the opponent still managed to get 11th place even though he was the one holding him back. The situation was decided, and the long-haired man fell silent amidst the mocking sounds of those number 1 middle school students. As time goes by, although the rankings have changed, they are pretty much the same. Many high school students are discussing the rankings with each other and recounting their insights from the assessment. Especially the students in number 1 middle school held their heads high and were very proud. In this ranking, their number 1 middle school is definitely number 1 again, and the number 1 in the city's joint entrance examination is none other than the Bai family brother and sister from their school. As for anyone questioning it, the students in the number 1 middle school all sneered and retorted, if you have the ability, you can kill so many flame bird tribes and complete the mission. Just when the students of number 1 middle school were admiring the expressions of these people who couldn't stand them and couldn't get rid of them, they suddenly discovered that many people looked at the projection screen with horrified expressions on their faces, as if they had seen a ghost. The students from number 1 middle school also turned around and looked at the projection screen. When they saw clearly, their pupils all shrank in disbelief. U City's Awakening Assessment ranks the city's joint entrance examination results. First place, Shui Ruyan, Zhongtian. U City number 14 middle school, 5,660 points. The change in rankings was like an invisible hand that strangled the throats of the students of number 1 middle school, making them unable to make a sound again. It was like a loud slap on the faces of the Bai brothers and sisters, causing burning pain. The throne of first place was robbed. In the square in front of the projection screen, the group of students watching the theater turned their heads and looked in the direction of the students from number 14 middle school. Not to mention the students from other schools, even the students from number 14 middle school were dumbfounded and extremely surprised. If Shui Ruyan is the number 1 in strength among the 14th middle school, they agree. But if Shui Ruyan led Zhongtian to win first place in U City, this would be hard for them to believe and accept. You must know that Zhongtian is one of the 4 great kings in their 14th middle school, and his name is quite resounding. It would be fine if Shui Ruyan and him were not held back in their combination, but why? Do you think this Zhongtian is also the kind of person who hides his strength and works hard secretly? I finally understand. These 4 in our number 14 middle school are the 4 great Vajras mentioned by the teacher. They are clearly the 4 great scroll kings. What's wrong with this world? You have talent and strength, but you still have to be sneaky. Hey, now it seems that the top 4 scroll kings should be given to Zhongtian. He unexpectedly won the first place in U City. Hey, How can this be justified? Dear students, it seems that the person who is going to hand out red envelopes needs to be changed. Guo Qihong, the original leader of the Roll King, also clicked his tongue. When the time comes, I have to let Mr. Zhang hand out red envelopes. I am so happy. What Mr. Guo said makes sense. Isn't it a great joy to win first place? I really didn't expect that being the king of rolls would be so useful. It would actually help our number 14 middle school win the first place in U City. The students of number 14 middle school were complaining, shaking their heads, and talking non-stop. It seemed that they were dissatisfied, but in fact they were talking about showing off, and their voices were very loud, and they looked in the direction of Yushi number 1 middle school from time to time. If you want to ask who is the happiest person, it is naturally the boy with long hair. Even though he didn't take revenge personally, he felt much better when he could see the other party suffering. Yes, the Bai family brothers and sisters are very uncomfortable now. Looking at the content on the projection screen, he frowned and clenched his hands. You know, being robbed of this first place is more than just a loss of reputation. Compared with the past several high schools that conducted joint entrance examinations and then unified rankings, this time all high schools in the city took joint entrance examinations together on a larger scale. A larger scale also means more generous rewards. The reason why the rewards this time are so generous is precisely because everyone knew the news in advance and was prepared. In a sense, this can be regarded as a distribution of benefits. But no matter what, the Bai brothers and sisters now feel as uncomfortable as eating shit, and the fat duck in their mouths just flew away. What makes them even more puzzled is why this first place combination can get such high scores. What a joke. At this time, a student from number 14 middle school suddenly exclaimed, "They are back." As the student shouted, everyone turned their heads and saw a group of students coming towards the gate of the base where the results were settled. Among this group of students, Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan were naturally clustered in the middle, with Huangxing and his teammates beside them. Ha 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 ha, old Zhang, look at the expressions of Bai Zunren and Bai Zunli. Before anyone could get closer, Huangxing's roaring laughter could be heard. Huangxing was very proud at this moment. In fact, he had come back a long time ago, and he had been watching from the side just now, watching the cause and effect. After the quarrel was over, Huangxing felt bored and went to the entrance to wait for Zhang Tian and the others to come back. What a coincidence, I saw the two people who were settling the results. It was just that the two of them had been discussing something, which made Huangxing come over curiously. After listening carefully, I was surprised to find that the two of them were discussing how many names they wanted to win on a large screen projected in the distance. Huangxing was shocked on the spot. How many names you get may not be a matter of words between the two of you. Huangxing fell into silence until he took out a handful of level 1 Flame Bird Tribe's red feathers from his pocket. It turns out that during this period, Zhang Tian hunted down an unknown number of level 1 Yaniao tribesmen in order to let Shui Ruyan help improve her cooking skills and let her taste the dishes and point out flaws. Many Akabane Zhang Tian didn't even bother to pull it out, let alone the flame fruit that was ground into powder and packed in a big bag. It can be said that winning the first place is just a matter of a word between Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan. Zhang Tian actually thought it would be nice to help Shui Ruyan get first place and get more rewards for fun. His family was not that rich, so it would be easy for his parents to earn more. But Shui Ruyan felt that this was suspected of cheating, and it would be enough to win without force and get ranked in the top 10. As for those rewards, Shui Ruyan planned to supply Zhang Tian from her own small treasury as compensation for her arbitrary choice of ranking. At this time, Huangxing told what happened just now and asked Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan to choose the first place, which made everyone feel bad. After all, people like Guo Qihong have a low-key attitude and say they want to give back to their classmates. How can you tolerate people like the Bai brothers and sisters who take advantage of themselves and act like a good boy? After listening to Huangxing's description, Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan also looked at each other and probably understood. It was obvious that the families of these students who had received the news in advance, in order to benefit their children, had invisibly helped the Starry Sky sect and facilitated this citywide joint examination and the high rewards. Knowing this, Shui Ruyan stopped being pretentious. Previously, She just felt that this was unfair to the students who relied on their own efforts, but since the Bai brothers and sisters did something wrong first, then don't blame them. So after Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan discussed a reasonable score, they settled the results and topped the city's joint examination this time. Impossible. This score is absolutely impossible. Bai Zunli waved her hand and pointed at Shui Ruyan in the direction of the visitor. You must have cheated. Bai Zunren also had a stern face. According to the color of the ranking names, the mission you received is high level, not special level. To get such a score, how many flamebirds do you have to kill? Are you actually going to use such dirty methods just for the sake of ranking? Facing the accusations from the two siblings, Shui Ruyan sneered. Can it be said that if I have a higher score than you and a higher ranking than you, it is cheating? Only trash like you would make excuses. We are actually killing the Yaniao tribe. If you don't accept it, you can kill so many of them. What you have to learn is to accept the reality instead of complaining here. Have you understood? Shui Ruyan's voice fell, and there was silence all around. PFF'd. I didn't know who it was, but I couldn't help laughing. The next moment, the laughter immediately became contagious, making everyone laugh. Isn't what Shui Ruyan said exactly what the Bai family brothers and sisters just said to mock others? After hearing this from Huang Xing's mouth, Shui Ruyan now responded in kind. You little bitch, how dare you cheat on me? Bai Zunli has never been wronged like this. She was so angry that she rushed towards Shui Ruyan, raising her hand to greet her with a palm. Sometimes, the world is so wonderful. You just told the truth and he got angry. At this time, Bai Zunli suddenly moved towards Shui Ruyan, as if possessed. When the palm wind hit, Bai Zunli, already tall, jumped up slightly when she stepped over. When she struck down the palm filled with blood, it looked even more majestic. From the past, the fighting style of the Bai family brothers and sisters has been fierce. Now after awakening, it is obvious that their awakened professions are all warriors, and the above two are the way to fight head-on. Old Zhang, help! Huang Xing saw this and immediately shouted, this Bai family girl has bad intentions. She is looking for an excuse to take action deliberately. It seems that she was angered by Shui Ruyan's words, but she acted calmly. This is to hurt boss Shui and affect her martial arts college entrance examination. To onlookers, it seemed that Bai Zunli had lost her mind and took action against Shui Ruyan regardless of this occasion. In fact, his thoughts were vicious. He suddenly thought of the competition in the martial arts college entrance examination in the future and felt that Shui Ruyan was too threatening. Only then did he think of taking action at this time to let her get injured and affect the next exam. The martial arts college entrance examination is so important. It can be said that it can determine a student's future. Only by showing talent, getting good grades, and entering a better martial arts university can you have more resources to improve your strength. One step is slow, each step is slow. Bai Zunli takes action now to make Shui Ruyan slow down from this step. This is what Huang Xing is worried about, and he also hopes that his good brother can take action at this time and become a hero to save the beauty. When the results were being calculated just now, he felt that Shui Ruyan was obviously much closer to Zhang Tian. It would be a pity if we don't bring this together. However, facing Huang Xing's worries, Zhang Tian didn't take it seriously. There was no worry in his eyes. Don't worry, she's not qualified yet. Not qualified yet. Huang Xing didn't understand that Bai Zunli had been famous for a long time. If it was based solely on the health value, the opponent would be able to suppress Shui Ruyan. After all, the strong players in each high school will be compared to each other. Shui Ruyan is number 1 in Yushi number 14 middle school, so of course she will be compared with others. At least at that time, Shui Ruyan was obviously not as good as Bai Zunli. Now that they have just awakened, in a head-on collision, Shui Ruyan may be able to fight Bai Zunli, but she will definitely fall below. If you are injured, the gain outweighs the loss. It wasn't just Huang Xing who thought this way, other students present also had this thought in their minds. Just when they thought Shui Ruyan would be at a disadvantage in the fight with Bai Zunli, the situation suddenly changed. Shui Ruyan, who was standing still without moving, suddenly stepped forward and took the initiative to receive Bai Zunli's palm. She also waved her hand and pushed forward, facing Bai Zunli face to face. Snapped. The two palms clashed with each other, making a loud sound. At the same time, the blood energy contained in both palms collided with each other, vibrating to the surroundings, with blood-colored fluctuations sweeping around. Almost at this moment, Bai Zunli's expression changed drastically. She could clearly feel the terrifying power fed back by the other party. When her palms clashed, her arms were shaken and numb. Looking up, when she met Shui Ruyan's gaze, she found that there was only a joking look in her eyes, and there was no sign of trembling in her arms. In this confrontation, Bai Zunli was at a disadvantage. Not only did she stop her attack first, she also took the first 2 steps back. It was at this moment that Shui Ruyan suddenly took a step forward, and her pink fist exploded with terrifying force, hitting Bai Zunli. Faced with this punch, Bai Zunli was caught off guard and could only cross her arms to block it. Drink. It was at this moment that Shui Ruyan suddenly shouted loudly, seeming to be filled with anger. Boom. A dull collision sounded, and Bai Zunli groaned. The power shocked her, making her mouth smell slightly sweet, and blood spilled from the corners of her mouth. Instantly, the whole place was in an uproar. Bai Zunli was actually hit by Shui Ruyan and suffered internal injuries with a punch. When did the snow-like smoke become like this? Judging from the health value and some performances, although Shui Ruyan belongs to the genius level in the entire U City, she is only at the middle level of the first echelon. And Bai Zunli, who was in the top 10 in their U City class, just for this assessment, deliberately concealed her strength and got a poor score. But everyone still knows the true strength. At least in the head-on collision, everyone was not optimistic about Shui Ruyan, but the result was completely different. Could it be that Shui Ruyan has awakened a great talent? It makes no sense. Bai Zunli's awakened talent is not too bad. Under everyone's astonishment, Shui Ruyan was unyielding and actually stepped forward and struck Bai Zunli with fists and palms. The attack was as fast and fierce as fire, which made people look strange, as if Shui Ruyan had a burst of fire and was venting it towards Bai Zunli. Bai Zunli was beaten back by the explosive Shui Ruyan, unable to resist at all. She was completely passively beaten. Bai Zunli's sleeves were rolled up, and her exposed arms were bruised and bruised. This scene scared everyone, and Huang Xing was even more stunned. Old Zhang, when did Boss Shui become so fierce? And it seems like she is a little angry. In fact, it wasn't just Shui Ruyan. Huang Xing remembered that when he went to the score settlement gate, he seemed to see his brother-in-law Huang Wei from a distance. The other party seemed to be very angry and very agitated. Zhang Tian thought about Huang Xing's question and gave his own answer. Maybe he ate too much. Level 1 Awakening. This state itself is the time to nourish the body. After reaching this state, you can practice the basics of Kung Fu, nourish your body, and temper your meridians. The speed of progress at this time is very fast. Shui Ruyan herself has awakened to a powerful profession like Qi Refiner and has a solid foundation. In order to help Zhang Tian improve his cooking skills, he eats like crazy. The combination of the Flame Bird clan and the Flame Fruit produced a lot of kebabs, and I couldn't stop eating them for 3 days. Shui Ruyan's strength has been greatly improved by relying solely on Zhang Tian's food, far surpassing other high school students in the entire U City. In this session, it can be said that no one has a higher starting point than Shui Ruyan. If you want to ask why, it was forcibly fed by Zhang Tian. It is precisely because of the characteristics of the dishes that Shui Ruyan is naturally full of anger, and the blood in her body from the dishes flowing through her body is almost about to burst out. Shui Ruyan herself is the kind of person who likes to compete with herself and doesn't like others. As a result, when Bai Zunli came out, he opened his mouth to ridicule, and he was so fierce in his attacks. It was completely obvious that she had no way to vent her anger. Flammable and explosive. Stop. It was at this time that Bai Zunren beside him suddenly moved. On the surface, he wanted to protect his sister, but in fact, he was attacking Shui Ruyan from behind, or sneaking up on her from behind. Bai Zunren has sinister intentions. If he really wants to protect his sister and stop the fight, he only needs to block Shui Ruyan's attack. But when he took action now, he hit Shui Ruyan in the back of the heart. It was a complete sneak attack and his behavior was disgusting. Shui Ruyan's offensive continued, and she still shot forward one after another. She heard the movement behind her, and also heard Bai Zunren's scolding. But Shui Ruyan did not give up the attack, her eyes were still fixed on Bai Zunli. Bai Zunli was puzzled by Shui Ruyan's attitude. She thought that her brother's move would definitely attract Shui Ruyan's attention. When Shui Ruyan was distracted, that was the moment for her to fight back. As a result, the other party didn't care about the attack from behind, and still chased and beat her. Is she crazy? However, it wasn't that Shui Ruyan was crazy, she just established trust with someone in this short period of time. It's a fair fight between them, but you've interfered too much at this time. A sudden voice sounded, and a figure suddenly stopped behind Shui Ruyan and in front of Bai Zunren. Clang! The sound of metal clashing sounded, and Bai Zunren's sneak punch hit the bottom of a dark pot. The force of rebuttal emerged, causing Bai Zunren to frown in pain and step back. After shaking his hand, Bai Zunren saw the boy holding the pot that had blocked his attack behind his back. Zhang Tian, Shui Ruyan's teammate. An unknown character, one who has never been heard of in the past. It seems that Shui Ruyan is a weak teammate in this match. However, being able to block his own punch, even though it took a bit of help. Bai Zunren's eyes shifted and his mouth trembled strangely. A pot blocked his punch, so strange. Zhang Tian stepped forward, which also caused many students around him to talk and look directly at this. They felt it carefully and found that Zhang Tian didn't seem to have the aura of a strong man on his body. So, how did Shui Ruyan's team achieve such high scores? Is it really cheating? Although Shui Ruyan's current burst of strength is very strong, it doesn't look like she can suppress the Bai brothers and sisters by herself. Boy, this matter has nothing to do with you. I advise you to get out of the way. Bai Zunren said and looked at Zhang Tian carefully. He saw the pot behind Zhang Tian, and then saw the kitchen knife in the knife holster on his waist but with part of it exposed. He couldn't help but shake his head. So, you are the cook. There is an interesting gossip recently. It is said that someone brought a cooking pot and knife to the awakening assessment. It turned out to be you. It's really ridiculous. You, a cook, dare to teach me a lesson. Bai Zunren's words made the students watching the show marvel and point at Zhang Tian. Many people have heard this news occasionally. After all, Zhang Tian's dress is too eye-catching and arouses discussion. Others entered the awakening assessment with complete equipment. Even if the conditions at home were not good, they at least used the school's standard equipment and were well prepared. Only this Zhang Tian was dressed like a cook. I heard that people who followed him through the security inspection said that in his bag were some condiments and the like. It's such a shame and humiliation that a cook like you, who doesn't take the assessment seriously, won the first place. If there is nothing fishy and no problem, who would believe it? Ha ha ha, the more you say it, the more irritating it becomes. Bai Zunren rubbed his forehead, shook his head, and suddenly roared, "You are not only insulting me. It insulted everyone present and humiliated every student who fought seriously and took exams seriously. And Shui Ruyan, who led you to win first place, and you who used despicable means to win first place, are guilty. Next, I'm going to take you to the examination team for review and expose the shady story." At this moment, Bai Zunren's roar made him feel like a messenger of justice, a warrior fighting against darkness and shouting for injustice. Behind him, the students of No. 1 middle school kept clenching their fists and waving their hands in support of Bai Zunren's words. Many students from other high schools nearby also seemed to be infected by Bai Zunren's words, and they looked at Zhang Tian with a somewhat unkind look. That's right, how could such a chef student win first place? And following such a beautiful girl. There is no shady story, no one will believe it. In the 14th middle school, Guo Qihong sneered, "You are really good at sophistry. Just by talking with bare teeth, you turned yourself from a scum who attacked sneakily into a righteous man." The other students from No. 14 middle school were also stunned when they heard Guo Qihong's words. Later, they also reacted. That's right, it was Bai Zunli who made the first move, and Bai Zunren who made the sneak attack. Why did it seem like Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan made a huge mistake? Zhang Tian is definitely not simple. His strength should be pretty good, but I don't know what level he has reached. Guo Qihong commented, as a secret scroll king. He smelled a familiar yet unfamiliar scent from Zhang Tian's body. It was the scent of restraining himself and hiding himself. Looking at Zhang Tian's best friend Huang Xing next to him, he looked calm and watching the show. Obviously, his guess was correct. If he really takes action, can Zhang Tian win? If it really doesn't work, why don't you wait and give me a favor? Just when Guo Qihong was thinking secretly, Bai Zunren made a move. Zhang Tian, let's just go ahead and capture him. We are all adults now, and I don't want the situation to get too ugly. Bai Zunren was building up his energy, showing a magnanimous look. And his performance directly made many of his little fans among the students scream. On Zhang Tian's side, he frowned slightly, a little confused. Aren't you the ones who stir up trouble? He didn't understand what was going on with this guy. Seeing this, Bai Zunren deliberately sighed and shook his head. Since you are so stubborn, don't blame me. As Bai Zunren roared, he sprinted towards Zhang Tian in an extremely handsome posture. The speed was so fast that just the burst of wind caused the expressions of those present to change. The expressions of the strong students from high schools such as No. 2 middle school and No. 3 middle school changed slightly and they were secretly frightened. What talent had Bai Zunren awakened? He was much stronger than before. Among experts, many things can be seen with just one shot. Bai Zunren, who was dashing handsomely, looked like a cheetah. When he got close, he punched Zhang Tian in the chest as if he had caught prey. Boom! A dull voice emerged, and Zhang Tian stood motionless, slightly lowering his head and looking at Bai Zunren, who was still in the posture of diving and punching. Bai Zunren also looked up at Zhang Tian, his expression a little dull. Two people, you look at me, I look at you. Zhang Tian frowned at this moment, and with a flick of his hand, he whipped out a big penis. Snapped. This loud slap sent Bai Zunren flying into the air, spinning like a horizontal top in midair. Finally, he fell in front of Zhang Tian in the posture of a dog chewing shit. His originally handsome face was swollen, foaming at the mouth, and he fainted completely. One shoe on his foot was missing. The surroundings seemed to have been pressed on the mute button, and there was silence. The only sound that sounded was the 4 words Zhang Tian muttered when he put his hands in his pockets. Lulu. Zhang Tian's slap not only hit Bai Zunren's face, but also hit everyone's heart. Bai Zunren was almost whipped into the air, and when he was spinning around in circles, everyone's hearts seemed to skip a beat. Many students around felt as if their brains were shut down at this moment. That was Bai Zunren, the strongest person in U City No. 1 middle school, and also the most powerful person in the whole U City class. Just from the results of this awakening assessment, you can see how strong he is. In addition, his father is a wealthy businessman in U City with abundant resources. There are very few geniuses in this generation who can compare with him. The results of it, Bai Zunren's punch hit the unknown Zhang Tian, but it didn't hurt him at all, and he couldn't even stagger him. On the contrary, I was slapped like a dead pig. I fainted on the ground and couldn't even move now. Many of them even put themselves in their shoes and thought about it, what would happen if they were slapped like this? Well, Zhang Tian will definitely be very scared, kneel down and beg them not to die. It was at this moment that they seemed to understand that their first place result probably had nothing to do with cheating. It is clearly a real achievement, and he is well deserved for his ability to slap Bai Zunren into a pig's head. In comparison, the expressions were more horrifying, and the students who were more frightened were naturally the students from Yushi No. 14 middle school. Guo Qihong rubbed his face with both hands and couldn't help but exclaimed, "This guy Zhang Tian is not only the king of scrolls, he is simply the saint of scrolls. He is so strong, how on earth can he hold it back and not reveal it? Is it just for this moment? This man's ability to show off his holiness is really superb. I'm willing to be inferior to him." At this moment, Guo Qihong was completely convinced. As for the other students in No. 14 middle school, I feel like my cognition is about to collapse. I once laughed at someone for being a clown, but what was the result? I'm the clown myself. The 4 Vajras in their school are basically the 4 heavenly kings. Especially Zhang Tian, how could he be so powerful? Okay, you're all playing like this, right? Everyone began to reflect and wonder, should they also learn to roll like this in the future? The next summer vacation after the martial arts college entrance examination is the last chance. Why don't you take advantage of the vacation to sneak in and give up your travel plans? Seeing everyone so surprised, Huang Xing nodded with satisfaction. The expression on his face was full of superiority. These guys finally know what their brothers are really capable of. Are you dumbfounded? Boom. It was at this time that the fight between Shui Ruyan and Bai Zunli came to an end. Originally, Bai Zunli was at a disadvantage and was no match for Shui Ruyan. Not to mention that during the fight just now, when she looked over from the corner of her eye, she saw her brother being slapped like a spinning top, and her heart was shaken, revealing her flaw. Is that all you have? After repelling Bai Zunli, Shui Ruyan shook her head and spoke, her eyes full of disappointment. Her eyes and words deeply hurt Bai Zunli, making her almost go crazy. But she didn't move on the spot, just because she had suffered internal injuries during the fight with Shui Ruyan just now. The current situation has already affected preparations for the martial arts college entrance examination. If we take action forcefully again, the consequences will be disastrous. What's more, the strength of Zhang Tian next to Shui Ruyan is unfathomable. She never thought that her brother Bai Zunren would be defeated by a student of the same class in U City, or that he would be killed with one move. At this time, Zhang Tian bent down and took out his hand from his pocket, grabbed the unconscious Bai Zunren by the back of his clothes, and pulled him up from the ground like a puppy. With such a casual throw, Bai Zunren was thrown in front of Bai Zunli. Seeing Zhang Tian throwing her brother back in such a humiliating way, Bai Zunli bit her lip and her eyes turned red, obviously filled with resentment. She helped her brother up from the ground and said in a hoarse voice to Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan, "Do you two dare to take another gamble with us brothers and sisters in this martial arts college entrance examination?" Bai Zunli was unconvinced and only thought that Shui Ruyan and Zhang Tian had bad luck in the awakening test this time and awakened their considerable talents. She believed that if she and her brother were given a little more time to stabilize their cultivation and improve their strength with help from their family, they would be able to regain their place in the martial arts college entrance examination. "I am a good student who abides by laws and regulations. I don't gamble." Zhang Tian shook his head and refused decisively. He ignored the other party and turned around to leave. Zhang Tian's words made Bai Zunli stunned for a while. Seeing the other party's attitude of ignoring her, her face turned blue and white with anger. She stared at Zhang Tian's back, swearing secretly in her heart that she would make him look good. However, she shifted her gaze and found Shui Ruyan beside her looking at her with a pity expression. The other party's appearance made Bai Zunli furious. "What do you mean? What do you mean by looking at me?" Faced with the emotional explosion of Bai Zunli, Shui Ruyan didn't pay much attention, turned around and left to catch up with Zhang Tian who had taken the first step. As for Huang Sheng, of course he continued to watch the show and did not follow Zhang Tian. As brothers, in his heart, now that the two of them are alone in the world, he should not join in the fun and cause trouble. Zhang Tian left just to stay away from the crowd, wait quietly for the entire exam to end, and follow the large team to leave the world of the Flame Bird clan and return to the human world. "Did you have murderous intentions just now?" Shui Ruyan's voice suddenly sounded and she said to Zhang Tianda. When Zhang Tian took action earlier, the aura that appeared on his body was very familiar to her. That was the energy revealed when the opponent killed the Xingkong sect bastard during the exam. Those two brothers and sisters are doing something dirty. They want to destroy your future. If you fight back, you shouldn't hold back. Zhang Tian said slowly, "But the examiners who maintain order around me are watching, so I can't do anything illegal. Otherwise, my parents will be sad. This is an outpost, they are all students, and just now the Bai family brothers and sisters attacked Shui Ruyan. If Zhang Tian beats them to death, he will inevitably be arrested and interrogated, which will make his parents worried. I checked the laws of the Tang state. If he attacks us outside the base, it is equivalent to committing treason, and he has the right to kill them on the spot. Just now we could only compete normally, and that's the extent of what we can do." Zhang Tian spoke to Shui Ruyan with a serious face and a serious look on his face. Hearing these words, Shui Ruyan couldn't help laughing. "Zhang Tian, you seem to be a little too serious, but this is good. After all, it's so rare to have such a reliable and good teammate." Saying that, Shui Ruyan stretched out her hand towards Zhang Tian with a bright smile. "Thank you so much this time, classmate Zhang." Zhang Tian looked at the girl in front of him who seemed to be shrouded in a hazy halo. After a moment of silence, he also extended his hand. "You're welcome." The two hands were intertwined and held together like this, but it had only been in this state for a few seconds when a cough suddenly sounded. Shocked, Shui Ruyan withdrew her hand. turned to look at the source of the sound, and then whispered in disbelief, "Little aunt." Seeing the figure that suddenly arrived, Shui Ruyan was pleasantly surprised and not too surprised. "Classmate Zhang, my aunt is here. Let's go over there first." Shui Ruyan waved to Zhang Tian and trotted closer. Zhang Tian also waved goodbye. When he saw Shui Ruyan following her aunt to the other side, gradually disappearing from sight, he turned and walked away. At this time, Zhang Tian had already begun to review the cooking journey of this awakening assessment in his mind, recalling every detail of cooking in the past. Especially the suggestions that Shui Ruyan gave him were very valuable and allowed him to think about them carefully and benefit a lot. While Zhang Tian was still immersed in the world of his cooking, Shui Ruyan followed his aunt and had already gone a long way. "This is a big deal. Your parents no longer allow you to stay in U City." Walking on the road, Shui Ruyan's aunt Shui Xiao said, "You can leave with me later and go home." Quote, "I made grandpa and grandma worry, I didn't expect." Shui Ruyan apologized, but the next moment she reacted, "What? Are you going back now?" Shui Xiao nodded. "Anyway, you came here not only to work hard secretly and not take advantage of your father, but also to experience your mother's past and study in her old school. After so long, it's almost time. It's time to go back. Besides, if such a big thing happened, do you think our old couple can trust you to stay here?" Shui Ruyan hesitated to speak, and after a moment nodded gently, "I understand." She knew that her willfulness had almost resulted in terrible consequences. Now, all he has to do is to be careful and follow the arrangements of his grandparents to avoid such a special situation again. If it were in a provincial capital, Starry Sky sect would definitely not have the ability to execute such a plan. Apart from her safety, it would be bad if it affected other people. At this time, Shui Xiao suddenly put her face next to her niece. "Look at your reluctance, could it be that you can't let go of your little boyfriend?" Hearing her aunt's teasing voice and looking at her expression, Shui Ruyan also blushed. "Auntie, what are you talking nonsense about? I am just an ordinary classmate, we are not even in the same class." "We are not in the same class and still so reluctant to leave. When did our Xiao Ruyan become so kind to boys?" Shui Xiao kept clicking her tongue with a look of disbelief. Shui Ruyan was made red-faced by her aunt. "He saved my life this time. Do I have to be distant and indifferent to my savior? That child can save your life." Shui Xiao couldn't believe it. When her family received the news, she came over without stopping. Fortunately, things were brought under control very quickly. Not long after she got the news and left, good news came. Everything is safe in Shui Ruyan. Huang Wei, the head of the palace patrol, is secretly accompanying him and is continuing the exam. If not, the old couple at home might have to come over in person. Worried about Shui Ruyan's safety, Shui Xiao naturally read all the information carefully. The information naturally described Zhang Tian, an ordinary student with the lowest grades in U City number 14 middle school, the unlucky guy in the plan. Shui Xiao was relieved to see Zhang Tian still alive just now. If the other party dies, my niece may have to blame herself for the rest of her life. After all, they were the ones who caused harm to others. Fortunately, everything ended well, but the niece suddenly said that this ordinary boy with poor grades was actually her savior. Then, Shui Ruyan slowly explained. "Well, because he usually has better observation skills, he discovered the marks left by the Starry Sky sect members. And he is very good at hiding his traces. He took me to avoid the situation in advance and delayed it for a long time. In the end, we successfully waited until Palace Master Huang arrived, and then we were safe and sound." Shui Ruyan's statement was determined by discussions between her, Zhang Tian and Huang Wei. Even on those corpses, Huang Wei used additional wounds, leaving traces of his own actions. Since Shui Ruyan agreed to keep Zhang Tian's secret, she naturally had to keep it. Even her aunt, grandpa, and grandma had to hide it. The matter was so important that in order to save his own life, Zhang Tian did not hesitate to expose such a big secret and show his terrifying strength. Naturally, she can't repay kindness with hatred. After all, the truth of the matter is countless times more shocking than the fact that Zhang Tian slapped Bai Zunren down. Thinking of this, Shui Ruyan couldn't help but think of the scene in her most desperate moment when the other party walked out of the thick smoke like a demon. She also thought about the way the other person was trying to stuff things into her mouth these days, just like Han, and she still felt that she was still a little full. After thinking about it, Shui Ruyan suddenly came back to her senses and saw her aunt looking at her with an anti-smile on her face. Hey, where are the ordinary classmates? Aunt. Shui Ruyan blushed again and pushed Shui Xiao angrily. Seeing her niece's rare shyness, Shui Xiao was so happy that she hugged her and rubbed her against her. Then, Shui Xiao continued to speak. However, don't blame my aunt for being too talkative. You must stay calm. Although our family doesn't have that kind of sectarianism, the surrounding environment and other people's words can be overwhelming. You have to make sure whether you really like him and have a crush on him, or whether this incident has given you an extra filter. You also have to consider whether our family will put too much pressure on him in the future. Besides that, you also have to take care of him so that he doesn't get into trouble by those young masters who are obsessed with you. When she said these words, Shui Xiao spoke earnestly and her expression became a little serious. She didn't dislike Zhang Tianpeng, but she was worried that the existence of her niece would bring trouble to him. There are many things that you need to be cautious about, otherwise you will harm others. Auntie, it's okay. Shui Ruyan shook her head gently, showing a reassuring look towards Shui Xiao. Between words, there was no way to put any pressure on Zhang Tian. Shui Ruyan knew very well that Zhang Tian was very focused on his dream. He would focus on improving his cooking skills and looking for better ingredients. Gossips will not affect his state of mind at all. As for those young men that my aunt said were causing trouble. Ah, Shui Ruyan sneered in her heart, could any of those guys withstand Yang's big kick? Beside, seeing Shui Ruyan looking so confident, Shui Xiao also sighed and touched her head. She knew that this was Shui Ruyan's advantage and also her disadvantage. Let nature take its course. That boy probably couldn't get into a good martial arts university. He will naturally separate from Xiao Ruyan and gradually lose contact with her. Time and distance are the biggest enemies. Shui Xiao did not intend to interfere too much with the two of them, and let them resolve the children's matters themselves. Although she was very unfavorable, after all, Zhang Tian was too ordinary and sooner or later he would not be able to keep up with Shui Ruyan. But what if they really overcome many difficulties with each other? Let nature take its course, which is the best choice. At the same time, Zhang Tian, an ordinary boy who Shui Xiao doesn't like, is staying in a secret room in the base. In front of him, Zhou Shang, who had sneaked in, was fiddling with a portable testing instrument, preparing to test Zhang Tian's data. It seemed that Zhou Shang was very calm while playing with the instruments. But his slightly trembling hands could not hide his mood. If possible, Zhou Shang really wants to ask, what should you do if you accept a big pervert as your apprentice? The first time I came into contact with this apprentice, the opponent killed a Xingkang sect evil disciple who had just entered the second level, and he still needed to be injured at the cost. Just from the bloody clothes, you can tell what Zhang Tian paid. But this time, through the process dictated by Zhang Tian, a level 2 Xingkang sect evil disciple with many years of experience could be killed with one move in front of him. It's so perverted. Zhou Shang couldn't help but wailed. This kid has only grown up recently and hasn't even entered college yet he has such fighting power. Even among these monster geniuses this year, they are all dimensionality reduction blows. Although the instrument is portable, expensive and sophisticated, it produces results quickly and accurately. Not long after, the report sheet was in Zhou Shang's hands, and he and Zhang Tian started reading it together. The most important value is naturally the blood value. Although the health value can only be used to measure a person's current superficial strength simply and crudely using pure data. Although it cannot measure actual combat effectiveness, it is also a very good reference standard. This time we brought a new type of instrument. After awakening, the assessment of blood value will be divided into internal and external. Zhou Shang, holding the report sheet, explained to Zhang Tian. External blood energy represents the overall strength of your body, and internal blood energy represents the approximate amount of blood energy stored in your body. The sum of the two is the comprehensive blood energy. For example, in the realm of level 1 awakening, the standard for comprehensive health value is 100 to 999 points, and those who can break 1000 are geniuses. Let me see what your data looks like. Zhou Shang glanced down and saw Zhang Tian's specific data. After testing, the state of the detection target is level 1 awakening. Close black lens bracket. Body tempering level. Fluctuates within a 10% range. Close black lens bracket. External blood gas value, 1100. Close black lens bracket. Internal blood value, 3200. Close black lens bracket. Comprehensive blood gas value, 4300. Close black lens bracket. Overall evaluation. N and an *********. After Zhang Tian finished reading the report, he turned to look at Zhou Shang. Teacher, how are you doing? Zhou Shang, at this moment, his silence was deafening, and asked him how he was doing. You have already detected garbled codes on the detection machine, and you still ask me what I am doing. After the first level of awakening, it is a stage of rapid growth, because at this level, you have practiced the introductory method of Kung Fu, and the blood and energy will temper the whole body. After the whole body is tempered, it will transform into the second level of cultivation. At that time, it was the stage of formal cultivation. It turns out that it's good for you. In just 2 or 3 days after awakening, you have tempered it by 10%. Your comprehensive health value has already reached the level of the third level fusion realm. And things are not that simple. According to his knowledge, the current average level of external blood energy, which represents physical strength, for ordinary martial arts college entrance examination candidates is above 70, and internal blood energy is above 40. The average comprehensive blood gas value is about 110. After all, the level 0 health cultivation stage mainly focuses on nourishing the physical body, and only after awakening will the proportion of internal blood energy gradually increase. And Zhang Tian's external blood gas alone is 10 times the average of other people's comprehensive blood gas. Zhou Shang couldn't help but have a headache. This was no longer a way for Zhang Tian to hide his strength. But even if Zhang Tian tried his best to hide his strength, he was still an amazing and terrifying genius, and would still be targeted and assassinated. Fortunately, this kid is so perverted that those who want to target him will definitely suffer a big loss. Let's just say this time, after 3 years of planning the Starry Sky sect and spending countless resources and costs, we finally found such a God-given opportunity. He was slapped to death by his pervert, no, good disciple, and he couldn't even turn his stomach. A tree that is beautiful in the forest will be destroyed by the wind. Sorry, in front of his disciple, you have to be blown back by the wind today because you can't make it through. After calming down his mood a little, Zhou Shang said calmly, very good strength, but you have to guard against arrogance and impetuosity. After all, there are people outside the world, and there are mountains outside the mountains. Like many alien geniuses, they have extraordinary talents and their race has great advantages over our human race. If you want to win over these alien geniuses and make them food on your plate, you will need to put in more effort. Not to mention that there are still many flaws and areas for improvement in your technique. Come, let me have a nice talk with you, my master. Zhou Shang finally gave Zhang Tian a serious and careful lesson, pointing out some flaws in his skills and areas that needed improvement. Older gingers are more spicy. Zhang Tian is still a young boy after all. From the perspective of cultivation, he is still an ordinary newcomer. Zhang Tian benefited a lot from Zhou Shang's explanation of the exercises. Just after the improvement, Zhang Tian could feel that the blood energy he could store in his body had been improved, and the blood energy was running more smoothly. He believes that when he ignites the physical furnace again, his combat power can be improved again. After carefully sensing it, he happily saluted Zhou Shang. Thank you, teacher, for your teaching. You are very talented, and this is all I can teach you. Zhou Shang squeezed Zhang Tian's shoulder. Next, there is the martial arts college entrance examination. Next, there will be about a month for you to prepare. The exam venue will be announced later. Regarding the martial arts college entrance examination, if you get a good ranking, you will get a very generous reward, and this reward is something that even a teacher can't give you. This is a strategic resource for the entire Tang dynasty to train the younger generation, so it is one of the reasons why teachers do not recruit students into the school through special recruitment. In fact, the special recruitment into the school itself is to prepare for professions such as alchemists and weapon refiners. In order to avoid showing off your talents and getting you into too much trouble, don't take the national champion exam. In terms of rewards, the resources of the provincial champion are not much different from those of the national champion. The only difference is that the university provides additional resources. As a teacher, I can secretly give you these things. With your strength, try your best to control the score and get the provincial champion. If others heard Zhou Sheng's instructions, they would think he was too arrogant. In the National Martial Arts College entrance examination, do you want to win the top prize nationally or provincially? Can you still control this? Sorry, Zhang Tian's terrifying ability gave Zhou Sheng the arrogance to give instructions. By the way, I almost forgot to ask, what profession did you awaken to? Zhou Sheng suddenly remembered something and looked at Zhang Tian curiously. Zhang Tian replied, Zhenjin Siming. What? Zhou Sheng was confused. What kind of profession is this? To put it more simply, he is the god of cooking. There is no kitchen god that Zhang Tian is familiar with in this world, so he changed the term. Zhou Sheng was startled for a moment, then couldn't help but smile and said, if you keep thinking about it, there will be repercussions. You really have awakened to a career that fits your dreams. God of cooking. As his disciple, he will definitely use foreign races from all over the world as ingredients in the pot in the future. Zhou Sheng feels that the title of God of Chef is very appropriate. He was very much looking forward to seeing what wonderful expressions those superior aliens would have when this child grew up. Soon, Zhou Sheng left quietly. He came here this time to confirm Zhang Tian's situation with his own eyes and improve his opponent's skills. After confirming that there were no problems with the improved technique and everything was in order, Zhou Sheng left with peace of mind. In addition, he also brought some gifts to Zhang Tian. The Weaver Girl, specially made battle uniform inner armor, and Zhou Sheng used his own methods to get it. It is considered to be the most advanced combat uniform inner armor today. Both comfort and defense are top-notch. It can effectively resist penetrating attacks, and can weaken bludgeoning, impact damage, etc. Although in the face of absolute strength, even the inner armor of this type of combat uniform cannot provide much protection. But at least when faced with attacks within level 5, it has almost no damage to the defense, level 6 has slight damage, and level 7 has limited effect. But Zhang Tian has a surrogate bracelet. With this inner armor and the targets he can attract with his current performance, safety is greatly guaranteed. At present, there is still Huang Wei in U City who can help keep an eye on things, so Zhou Sheng can leave with peace of mind. Not long after Zhou Sheng left, this time the U City joint examination came to an end. All the students have confirmed their grades and are preparing to leave the world of the Flame Bird clan collectively and return to U City through the first order space-time gate number 15,204. In fact, when the students were preparing to gather and leave, they discovered something was wrong with the atmosphere. It stands to reason that after the assessment, there would be a so-called award ceremony, but it was cancelled directly. I heard that the performance rewards for this exam will be distributed separately, as if to downplay this exam. Moreover, unlike before coming, the number of examiners leading the team increased directly to 10 in one school, and all of them had their weapons unsheathed and looked solemn. And the person at the front of the team turned out to be Huang Wei, the lord of their U City tour mansion. Something doesn't feel right. Boss Shui left first, and the atmosphere is so weird. Huang Xing muttered beside Zhang Tian among the students who were leaving. Zhang Tian didn't say anything. It was inevitable that Shui Ruyan would leave first. She was the main person in this incident. Moreover, if such a big thing happened, her family would definitely pick her up in order to feel at ease. Old Zhang, look over there at No. 1. Suddenly, Huang Xing seemed to have discovered something interesting and pointed in a direction. Zhang Tian followed the direction pointed by the other party and saw the Bai brothers and sisters in the number 1 middle school team staring at him with cold expressions. It's just that Bai Zunran's swollen face looks like a pig's head, which makes him look ridiculous with his eyes. You slapped me like that. You're quite unconvinced. Huang Xing sneered, but in a solemn tone, but Lao Zhang, you should be more careful lately, be careful of people trying to trick you out of the game. The off-the-table moves Huang Xing mentioned were naturally that the Bai family siblings couldn't beat Zhang Tian, but they would use their family connections to target him. Although the laws of the Tang state were strict, given the strength of the Bai family, they could still do it even if they wanted to make a small move. For example, the reward for first place this time is free use of the blood source room for a full 48 hours. The Bai family is careful to use their connections to deliberately calculate the time, or arrange for a blood source room with poor conditions, etc. HMPH, if the Bai family really dares to use such methods, feel free to come to me for help. At this moment, Guo Qihong came over and interrupted. Today, Zhang Tian is a popular figure in number 14 middle school. Although the classmates around him are all on their way, they are all paying attention to what is going on here. Especially Guo Qihong, who had previously sent help but couldn't intervene because of Zhang Tian's terrifying strength. Now that I heard the conversation between the two of them, I couldn't sit still. I immediately recommended myself, and my chest made a thumping sound. The Bai family is powerful, but the Guo family is not bad either. And me, Lao Zhang. Huang Xing also patted Zhang Tian on the shoulder and glanced at Guo Qihong. Our uncle is right in front. If the Bai family dares to do something, thank you. If there is any trouble, I will speak up. Zhang Tian smiled at Huang Xing and Guo Qihong and nodded. Just kidding, there are good brothers who are willing to help. If you can borrow help, why should you be pretentious? It would be good to take advantage of this opportunity to make connections. Zhang Tian also knew that Guo Qihong's family conditions were very good, and he was not just trying to follow a dragon or a phoenix. I just feel that if I want to have better kitchen utensils and get better condiments and other cooking things in the future, I can ask someone for help. You can't just call your teacher for everything, right? If you need to ask the teacher for such a small matter, you will look too incompetent. What's more, one more relationship means one more path, and multiple friends are always better than multiple enemies. Especially Guo Qihong's proactive display of goodwill must be grasped carefully. While thinking, Zhang Tian and his group also passed through the time and space gate in front of them and returned to U City. But when they returned to U City, many students were frightened by the scene in front of them. Surrounded by densely packed and fully armed Star Conquest troops, there were also many government patrols, all with weapons unsheathed, standing guard in all directions. There are even several suspended fighter jets in the sky, shining their lights on this side. What's going on? It's so serious. I felt something was wrong from the beginning. Did something happen during the assessment? Could it be that Zhang Tian and Shui Ruyan really cheated and were discovered? Are you out of your mind? Does cheating require such a big scene? All the students were talking about it. Fortunately, such a big scene didn't seem to have much to do with them. After the inspection, everyone returned to their school bus. After they got on the school bus, they discovered that there was actually a Star Conqueror on the bus, and the alert level was at full alert. After the school bus started, Zhang Tian and the others also returned to Yushi number 14 middle school. However, after returning to school, they were controlled and could not go home. All students must live in temporarily cleared dormitories. Even, from time to time, students would be called to talk. Zhang Tian was also among the people being interviewed, but when he went to talk, he was not facing an interrogator. It was Huang Wei, an old acquaintance. As for the other person, Zhang Tian was very surprised. Shui Ruyan's aunt, Shui Xiao. We meet again, young man. Shui Xiao greeted Zhang Tian with a smile. Zhang Tian glanced at Huang Wei beside him, who pretended not to be familiar with him, coughed twice and said, "It seems that Mr. Zhang has met Mr. Shui's parents. As a witness to this incident, you also know the seriousness. Interrogation is a means of concealing the truth from others. I hope you will keep the specific content secret in the future. Besides, this classmate Shui's parents are here specifically to thank you." Zhang Tian nodded slightly. Huang Wei said this, which was equivalent to telling himself that the real confidentiality work was very good, and Shui Ruyan also fulfilled her promise. Next, he just pretends not to know. Clatter. At this moment, Shui Xiao placed a bank card on the table, put her fingertips painted with red nail polish on it, pushed it gently, and moved it in front of Zhang Tian. Shui Xiao retracted her hand and crossed her arms. In this card, there is 100 million Tang national coins. Before she finished speaking, Huang Wei couldn't help but widen his eyes and interrupted. You're not going to talk about leaving Shui Ruyan later, are you? Huang Hui's words made Shui Xiao's face darken, and she turned her head and glared at the other party angrily. Are you looking at too many random things and thinking about something randomly? This is the meaning of my old man. There is no way to repay the kindness of saving lives. It seems superficial to repay with these external things. Huang Wei shrugged. This is not simple at all, old classmate. Compared with the training resources, I hope you can give me more money. Shui Xiao was too lazy to pay attention to Huang Wei and sneered, you should be good if you get an advantage. Don't give it back. Hey, there's no reason to take back the gift you sent out. Huang Wei backed away quickly, shaking his head like a rattle. Too lazy to talk to Huang Wei, Shui Xiao looked back at Zhang Tian again. In addition to these 100 million Tang national coins, I have prepared a small single-family villa for your family in Chongqing, the provincial capital. According to the old man's wishes, this matter involves you. I'm worried that the bastards from the Starry Sky sect will anger you and your family. This small villa is in a security zone, so there is no need to worry about safety. As Chongqing is a provincial capital, the overall security will be better. In addition, if you follow Xiao Ruyan and win first place this time, you will be rewarded with a blood source room. After arriving in the provincial capital, we can arrange better things for you. After finishing speaking, Shui Xiao asked for Zhang Tian's contact information, added a friend and sent a contract. Signing the contract means you agree to this plan. If you are not satisfied, we can also give you a villa on the top of Janae Mountain in U City. Zhang Tian looked at his mobile phone account interface, and the contract content had popped up on it. Once signed, his family would get a small villa in the provincial capital. This mobile phone account is similar to the ID card in the previous life and belongs to the official system. Even if the device is changed, it can also be activated through biometrics. Personal information, wealth, etc. are all associated with this account, and all aspects of life are related to it, which is very convenient. It's just that this account also has different security levels. Like Shui Ruyan, his aunt Shui Xiao, Zhang Tian clicked on the other party's personal message panel, and he couldn't see anything except a name. On the other hand, Shui Xiao could see a lot of information about Zhang Tian except for some particularly private information. For example, the past grades in Yushi No. 14 middle school, as well as the records of books borrowed from the public system. Fortunately, I'm not reading any weird books. I'm a good kid. The only problem is why are I reading some chef's reference books? I agree. At this time, Zhang Tian agreed and signed his electronic signature on the contract sent by the other party. After the contract is signed, it comes into effect immediately. Zhang Tian could see through his personal account that there was an additional property right under the property. Later, Zhang Tian took the bank card, put it on his mobile phone and scanned it, and 100 million Tang Guo coins arrived immediately. After all, it is not a small amount. If the transfer is done through an account, Shui Xiao has to apply for approval at various levels due to her special position, which is very troublesome. It is more convenient to use card transfer. I didn't expect you to agree so quickly. I thought you would think about it. Shui Xiao looked at Zhang Tian with a bit of surprise in her eyes. Zhang Tian looked at Shui Xiao with a calm expression. In this way, the debt of saving my life can be forgiven. Classmate Shui and I can be reconciled. It is better to pay some material price than to repay the debt in return. Shui Xiao's expression changed slightly. She opened her mouth to say something, but couldn't. In fact, this was exactly the decision she made after talking to her father on the phone. What my father meant was generally similar to what Zhang Tian expressed. After repaying the life-saving grace with generous material, the two children have become separated. If Shui Ruyan really had an emotional entanglement with Zhang Tian, it might be more pure without the intervention of this life-saving grace. Without this, if something happens between them, if the child is happy and willing, the elders can only give blessings. It seems realistic, but in fact the attitude of their Shui family is already generous enough. Don't get me wrong, the old man just hopes that there won't be too many things mixed up between you two children. Shui Xiao finally explained and looked at Zhang Tian. If you are really serious, you might as well work hard, at least admitted to the Martial Arts University in Star City. Hengwu University in Star City is Xiao Ruyan's inevitable goal. As the elders, we won't interfere too much in the affairs of the younger generation, but young man, you have to show your own energy. After saying that, Shui Xiao came up and patted Zhang Tian on the shoulder. You are in good spirits. I hope we have the opportunity to meet again in the future. Then Shui Xiao waved goodbye to Zhang Tian. Before leaving, he found Huang Weizheng, who was leaning against the wall at the door, looking at him with a strange expression. Looking at the expression of her old classmate, Shui Xiao always felt extremely weird. What is your expression? Were you encouraging him? Huang Wei asked slowly. Shui Xiao raised her eyebrows and whispered in a low voice. Otherwise, although he is very ordinary, he is at least a good child. He can't speak badly and cause psychological trauma to others, right? Are you really big-hearted? Aren't you afraid that someone will kidnap your girl? Huang Hui's expression became even weirder when he heard the word, ordinary, in the other person's mouth. Shui Xiao sighed and waved to Huang Wei. The two of them opened the door and went to the corridor. Looking back at the room, Shui Xiao said, you also know that the gap between the two of them will definitely become wider and wider, and there is a high probability that they will separate. It's also a kind of growth for our girl. Taking a step back, under such circumstances, it would be a good thing if the two of them can still get together. Such a relationship is rare and valuable. However, I don't have any hope for such a result. Just whether he can pass the martial arts college entrance examination to Star City is like a natural chasm for this child, and it is difficult to cross. Huang Wei remained silent for a long time and then said, given your position, you are actually free to come here. It is also approaching the martial arts college entrance examination. Could it be that the examiner of our southern province's martial arts college entrance examination? Don't even think about it. Do you think I am this kind of person? Shui Xiao stared at Huang Wei with a serious face. The thing I hate most is cheating. Gone. Then, Shui Xiao waved her hands towards Huang Wei, put her hands into her pockets, and left in a hurry. Examiner. Huang Wei sighed and looked at Shui Xiao's back with pity. I'm not asking you this to cheat or falsify. But after the confirmation, I am even more looking forward to seeing you slapped in the face by an ordinary kid like my junior brother. Is the gap too big? How difficult is it to get into Star City? Huang Wei clicked his tongue and shook his head. According to the teacher, the biggest problem for him as a junior in the martial arts college entrance examination is not to accidentally win the top prize in the country. Soon after Shui Xiao left, Huang Wei returned to the room again. After entering the room, he saw Zhang Tian playing with his mobile phone. It's a pity that the configuration of your mobile phone is too low. Otherwise, a miniature three-dimensional model of the villa can be projected stereoscopically, which will make it easier for you to view the details. Huang Wei came to Zhang Tian, saw the contents of the other party's mobile phone screen, and commented on it. The implication is that Zhang Tian, a young rich man now, should hurry up and change his mobile phone. Has the person left? Zhang Tian looked outside the door and asked. Huang Wei nodded and gestured towards Zhang Tian. She's gone. Just listen to what she just said. Don't take it to heart. Speaking of which, there's no harm in it, it's just that your situation is too special. In addition, about the conflict between you and the Bai brothers and sisters, people at her level would not pay attention to this kind of friction between students unless they take the initiative to investigate. If she investigates more carefully, she will know that you can kill an enemy instantly with one move, and she won't say that passing the exam to Star City is a huge obstacle for you. Speaking of this place, Huang Wei suddenly remembered something and took out his mobile phone to show it to Zhang Tian. This is a reward given to me by the Shui family. It is a cultivation resource and cannot be transferred. Besides, you can't use the cultivation resources at this level right now. How about I just keep them and transfer them to you with merit points of equal value? The Shui family thought that they were the ones who actually killed the enemy and saved Shui Ruyan, so the gift of thanks was naturally not light. But Huang Wei knew very well that the real credit was entirely due to the junior brother in front of him, and he had no credit at all. These things are worth a lot of money, but Huang Wei is not greedy for ink. What's more, Zhang Tian's cooking helped him break through the shackles of his realm, and he would be able to break through it in a short time. God knows how long he has been stuck in this state, and he has been in pain for too long. It can be said that Zhang Tian was kind to him. No problem, let's do it. Zhang Tian agreed with Huang Hui's plan without being pretentious. He would not be polite to things that should be his. Zhang Tian would not take things that were not his own. According to the price of these cultivation resources, they were worth approximately 100,000 merit points. Huang Wei added another 20,000 points himself and transferred 120,000 merit points to Zhang Tian. Merit points are special currencies you get after you go to the battlefield to kill aliens and contribute to the human race. They can be exchanged for various resources and privileges in the official website. According to the ordinary market price, 1 point of merit is equivalent to 10,000 Tang national coins. Of course, few people will use merit points to sell them for Tang Guo coins. After all, many of the things that can be exchanged for merit points cannot be bought with Tang Guo coins. Speaking of this, Huang Wei also warned Zhang Tian, it's best not to use the merit points now. It will be useful when you enter Hongwu University in Star City. Zhang Tian nodded and listened to others' advice to eat enough. Huang Wei, as an experienced person, naturally had to listen to the advice. Although you are definitely fine, you still have to stay at the school today and you can go back tomorrow. Huang put his arm around Zhang Tian's shoulders and walked out of the room together, saying as they walked. Zhang Tian also expressed his understanding of this. It was just a night of sleeping in school, which was harmless. After all, he was one of his own, so Huang Wei specially arranged Zhang Tian in a single room, which was originally a teacher's lounge. There were even brand new beddings prepared inside, which shows Huang Hui's concern for Zhang Tian. Before leaving, Huang Wei chatted with Zhang Tian for a while and described some experiences of foreign races. But as he talked, Huang Wei found that his junior brother's behavior seemed to be getting worse and worse. It was obvious that what he was describing was a ferocious alien race, so why did Zhang Tian still swallow his saliva while listening? Here, Zhang Tian was still listening to Huang Hui's detailed explanation of the characteristics of various ingredients. On the other side, Shui Xiao, who was sitting in a special car, was closing her eyes to rest, but suddenly she opened her eyes and took out her mobile phone. The first video call application above was for her good niece Shui Ruyan. After Shui Xiao connected to the video, she saw the girl on the other side who had arrived at home, and joked, "Why, after meeting Grandpa, you can't wait to take care of your little boyfriend." "Auntie, what are you talking about? What kind of little boyfriend?" Shui Ruyan's cheeks turned slightly red and she said quickly, "Grandpa said you went to see classmate Zhang, didn't you say anything?" "Of course I said a lot of good things for you too." Shui Xiao glanced at the edge of the video screen and quietly poked his head out to eavesdrop on the two elders, and deliberately spoke loudly, "I persuaded that child with good words and let him work hard and try to get admitted to university in Star City. After all, there is a big gap between you two. If that kid wants to chase the apple of our Shui family's eye, he has to work harder." Shui Xiao recounted her words of comfort to Zhang Tian and her own analysis one by one, and said righteously to Shui Ruyan, "Xiao Ruyan, if you can overcome all the hardships with this child and still achieve righteousness, only then can we gain recognition, otherwise." "Auntie, you are really..." Shui Ruyan, who was on the other side of the video, was already so angry that she lost control of her emotions and scratched her hair into a mess. "You don't understand." "Oh, Aunt, you will regret saying these words." Snapped. The video hung up and Shui Xiao looked at the black screen in disbelief. The little girl rebelled and dared to yell at herself. Why would she regret saying these things? She didn't say anything unpleasant, she was just encouraging an ordinary boy to be brave. Isn't this a perfect speech from an enlightened and rational parent? On the other side, after Shui Ruyan hung up the video, she looked back at her grandparents. She felt her face was burning so much that she immediately rushed back to her room and closed the door tightly. The two elders, who had been on the battlefield for a long time and had seen strong winds and waves, looked at each other in confusion at this moment, wondering what their granddaughter was up to. They heard what their little daughter said in the video just now, and there was nothing wrong with it. There was no bullying, and things were done in a reasonable manner. However, the truth of the matter was far beyond their imagination. In their eyes, there was a huge gap between the two sides, but they were actually swapped. At least, that's how it felt in Shui Ruyan's eyes. In her eyes, Zhang Tian's back was tall and deep, unreachable, and she would probably have a hard time catching up with him in her life. Back in the room, Shui Ruyan was worried that her words would be overheard, so she could only send a message to Zhang Tian. On the other side, after Huang Wei left, Zhang Tian, who was already lying on the bed, was still searching for information when he saw a pop-up window from Shui Ruyan. Click on the message notification and the screen is occupied by the dialog box. Classmate Zhang, My aunt didn't know the truth and said some offensive words. I'm very sorry. Looking at the message from Shui Ruyan, Zhang Tian couldn't help but smile and replied to the message. It doesn't matter, after all, this is our secret and she doesn't know. Shui Ruyan stared at the words, our secret. She didn't know why, but she lay on the bed and began to swing her slender white legs. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe.